Beep, 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 beep. Hello, peeps. Whew, still hot today. So I've got the air going. If you see a fan on, it's because the air is going. You know, yeah. Can you hear it? The gentle hum of the wind. I love it. Because it keeps me cool. Fat that I am. Right, okay. Enough gabbling. Become a warrior teacher. Buy me a coffee if you can. That'd be great. Getting towards the end of the month again. What else? That's it, really. Okay, I'm going to start putting the adverts up so everybody can see what we've got coming in August. Looking forward to hopefully to have some more of you come and join us as part of the team. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to most. So hopefully that will happen as we move into the summer months of August. There's a very interesting thing that's come up here. I put the links to it in the doobers, and I thought it was worthwhile sharing because it comes from Parents with Inconvenient Truths About Trans, or PITT as they're known, PITT right now. Now I know a number of people who are from PITT. I've spoken at various sessions they've done, and they produce some excellent material. They have a Substack, I believe it is, or a website, one or the other, which if you want to go and have a read, the stories that they tell, what they've got to feed into this, what the narratives that they come up with from people who are directly involved with attempting to stop their children from butchering their bodies or to save their gay and lesbian kids, is extraordinary. So I do highly recommend that you go and have a look at Parents with Inconvenient Truths About Trans. I will put all the necessary links in the doobries. And I'll be glad to hear from you after this brief explanation in the doobries what you think. So, there's a book coming, right? There's a book coming in August. It's being published by Pitchstone Publishing in August. I haven't looked yet, but if it is on Amazon, I'll find the link and put it in the doobries as well. So this is an excerpt from Parents with Inconvenient Truths About Trans, Tales from the Home Front on the Fight to Save Our Kids, edited by Josie A. and Dinah S. The book will be released by Pitchstone Publishing in August. So there we go, folks. Another great edition to look forward to, bringing new narratives to bear upon this cultural phenomenon we find ourselves embroiled. One of the most difficult things, it begins, about parenting a gender-questioning child today is the information asymmetry. Once a gender-questioning kid has self-diagnosed themselves, courtesy of big tech, they have access to the entire world of transgender ideology, with its seemingly endless stream of videos, articles, and social media influencers. These resources show them exactly how to act, what to say, and how to move forward, or move their parents forward, brackets, close brackets, with treating and medicalizing their self-diagnosed ills. Parents, on the other hand, are typically far less informed about gender ideology, and much less tech literate. Gen X parents like myself can certainly applaud themselves for being in the know when it comes to tech. After all, we witnessed firsthand the evolution of technology and how it has utterly transformed society. Yes, so exciting. But we're kidding ourselves if we think that we, in the aggregate, have the same tech literacy as our children. They were born into it. They've known nothing else. We pride ourselves on donning a wetsuit and going swimming in the ocean. Our children are the dolphins watching us bemusedly as we splash about. What a marvellous metaphor there in this particular excerpt from the book. If your child has decided that it's time to go full steam ahead down the trans pipeline, you're probably feeling outgunned and maybe even questioning whether or not you're a transphobe for even thinking their rush towards identity finality is inappropriate. There is no easy way out here. Either you're going to get steamrolled and potentially subject your child to a lifetime of medicalization and suffering, or you're going to be the parent and ask the tough questions that allow the child to actually experience the difficult yet rewarding work of identity formation. I want to interject there. Identity formation is not an individual thing. That's half the trouble with this, I think. And I've spoken to somebody from PITT about this before. I'm sure that they agree with me. Your identity is not formed by you, it's formed by us. You have a personality, which if you work on it, will become character. Your identity, which is not something you carry with you, it's something that lives in the world, is formed by others. Careful, folks. See, you start making up fake identities, people will believe you, then you're in real trouble. During our journey with our gender questioning kid, my husband and I have observed behaviours that you may also encounter. We hope that these tips will help you shepherd your childhood through adolescence. Just remember, you're the parent. It's okay to say no. What we've got here is a number of them, and I'm going to read you through those. So we'll start with number one, family photos. Down the memory hole, many kids who are exploring a trans identity want to erase their past in the belief that it will make it easier to adopt a new self. This fundamentally flawed notion assumes that transformation requires destruction. This all or nothing belief is fairly common in adolescence. It's normal to want to alleviate your child's distress, but don't be tempted to indulge their attempt at erasure. Family photos belong to the family, not just the child going through a period of uncertainty. Gently remind your child that the photos are shared memories and no one person can tell the rest of the family what should be remembered. Further, if you do become trans at some point, it was a journey, and attempting to negate part of that journey is to deny the fullness of the self. Interesting, yeah? Interesting food for thought here for you, folks. Consideration from the point of view of a parent who has a child who's identifying into this cult-like behaviour. Number 2, pronouns. Staring into the pool of narcissus. These people are wonderful, I love it. Oftentimes, gender uncertain kids will ask you to use different pronouns in the household. Much has been written on why this is problematic. Explain to your child that asking others to use a different pronoun is awkward and imposing. As a gender-critical parent, you should focus on helping your kid develop resilience and self-confidence. Teach them that if you can't be happy unless the outer world acquiesces to your worldview, you're not ever going to be happy. Never a truer word was spoken. This is good stuff, folks. Name games. Thanks for the suggestion, Mum and Dad. Guess what? Hating your given name isn't uncommon. A version of the particular name is nomomesia, and dislike of your own name is autonomomesia. We've all surely met people who've chosen to go by a middle name or some other name for at least some portion of their lives. If your kid prefers a nickname or some other version of their given name, does it matter? This can be tricky. Is it a normal, healthy development of the self, or is it just another facet of the erasure phenomenon? So careful around that one. Number 4, the affirmation trap. Yes, the dreaded A word. Identity-seeking kids often want immediate affirmation. If you don't immediately affirm, you're labelled as transphobic. Worse, parents are told that in failing to immediately affirm, they could harm their child psychologically and cause them to commit acts of self-harm. This is the lies from the cult. While we should affirm that a person's lived experience is real and meaningful, we shouldn't fall into the trap of affirming every ephemeral belief about oneself. We as humans are meant to evolve throughout our lives. Help your child learn to understand that our self-conceptualization is fluid and ever-changing, and that knee-jerk affirmation can lead to rigidity and suffering. Very clever. Very clever. 5, cross-dressing. One thing kids are told online is that cross-dressing will alleviate dysphoria. However, for kids identifying as trans, cross-dressing is part of a social transition that can solidify a trans identity and lead to medicalization quite quickly. If you allow your child to cross-dress and they receive positive feedback from peers and schools falling over themselves to appear inclusive, the child may be naturally inclined to seek out the next steps. Remind your kids that gender bending isn't especially new. See glam and even heavy metal rock stars from the 1970s and 1980s for some high-profile examples. And help them explore the root cause of their discomfort with their bodies. This is so rich. It's such a rich document. Number 6, misbehaviours. Along with cross-dressing, kids might want to try and change their bodies. While some might suggest such behaviours are harmless, breast binding and experimentation with false breasts can have repercussions. Breast binding restricts breathing, damages breast tissue, and can even break ribs. False breasts are simply one more step towards medicalisation. If a child feels accepted with these behaviours and is dependent on outside approval, they'll keep pushing down the pathway to medicalisation. Number 7, threats of self-harm. The online how-to guides encourage gender-curious kids to keep the suicide card up their sleeves. Yes, they do. It's unbelievable, isn't it, that they do, but they do. If mum and dad don't quickly capitulate and get on the affirmative train, the kids are told talking about self-harm will get the attention. There is some good news here. Suicide is the most exaggerated threat and the most refuted, thankfully. Discuss with your child the cold hard facts. The suicide rate of teens identifying as trans is not improved with medical and surgical transition. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a difficult thing to hear when they've been told that transition is salvation, but trans-identified individuals have some of the highest rates of psychological comorbidities and suicide rates. If you believe your child is really suicidal, take them to the emergency room or call 911. There's something here they know about when to shock. It's good, right? It's good. Can we try this at home? Maybe your gender-questioning child, that's number 8, isn't quite ready to assume a trans identity in the larger world. Some gender-questioning kids would prefer to try on their new identity at home, but maintain their natal sex outside of the home. You may feel relieved that your child feels secure enough with you to ask this, but don't amplify the cognitive dissonance. Even more importantly, don't be the bridge to the child's other family members, such as grandparents. Learning how to present yourself to the world is a critical life skill. Help your child develop a coherent and healthy self-image. Number 9, depression and withdrawal. Many gender questioning kids have underlying depression and anxiety, which may manifest as withdrawal from their family and friends. They may believe transition will alleviate these symptoms, but the uncomfortable reality is that social, medical and surgical transition probably won't help your kid. To paraphrase Thoreau, you're just hacking at the branches, not the root of the problem. Help your kids discover outside activities, create opportunities in real life, and stay away from gender clinics and affirming therapists. Sadly, our current medical industrial complex has no incentive to explore the underlying cause of distress. And finally, and the one that's most important to me, is sexuality, or the lack thereof. One of the pillars of gender ideology is the notion that gender identity is an internal feeling unrelated to sexuality. Kids, often without any sexual experience, are taught to conflate gender identity and sex. The kids are told genital preference is transphobic and gender attraction is the polite way to discuss sexuality. These notions prey on internalized homophobia and harken back to the 1950s when homosexuals were punished via medicalization. You know, this is me. I think that. I think that's exactly what's going on, right? Teach your child about homophobia, internalized homophobia, and the history of gay conversion therapy and punishment, for that is what trans is. That's not from them, that's me. That's that last bit. For that is what, that was me. Back to the article. Remember, you're the parent. Your child may be facing difficult questions about their identity. They may be gay or gender non-conforming. Indeed, some of them may suffer from serious dysphoria that needs mental or medical support. As the parent, your job is to guide them through the difficult waters of adolescence and get them safely to the shores of adulthood. Science tells us that the frontal cortex is not fully developed until our mid to late 20s. In every other aspect of life, this is well recognised and embedded into our healthcare, financial and social systems. Try to sign up for a mobile phone contract at age 17 and you'll be reminded of this fact. You as the adult in the room have the fully developed frontal cortex and the reasoning powers that come with that. Use them. The family unit is under threat as never before, specifically from gender ideology. Maintaining family cohesiveness can be difficult when a child identifies as trans, but it's not impossible. And in fact, a strong family bond can be proactive. Members of strong families communicate with each other. All parents are on the same page and firm but loving boundaries are clearly articulated and enforced. Adolescence is a time of identity exploration and tumultuous hormonal fluctuations. Help your child see that families are forever, but that clothes, bodies and identities change over time. To our own child, we said early and often, there is nothing to do now, just be. Our child's need to identify as trans subsided as he became more comfortable in his body and mind. Well, Josie A., who wrote that, a mother, co-founder of Parents with Inconvenient Truth About Trans, lives on the west coast of the United States. Dinah S. is a mother and co-founder of Parents with Inconvenient Truth About Trans, and she lives on the east coast of the United States. Thank you both for what is a very thoughtful and very useful piece of information for parents across the globe who may have children who have found themselves caught up in this cult in some way. I hope that people will go and learn more about PITT, and I hope that this proves something that you can add to your arsenal when parents say, I've got a kid that's doing this. Perhaps you can point them towards this video, which will in turn point them towards the book and the full article so that people can read it. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen. Buzz off, the lot of you. See you later.